Hello and again, everyone. Brian Martin with you. It's been a long time since I've done an Affinity Design, Affinity Publisher video, and I know that there have been some people out there in the card making world for sports games that have picked this up or have been looking at the idea of picking it up. I just thought I'd do a little something to show some new things that I've learned. And again, if you're an expert at this stuff, I'm not trying to tell the experts anything they don't already know. This is really for people like myself who purchased the program, I think 4 years ago or so, because I wanted to make my own cards on perforated cardstock for some tabletop sports games that I owned. It's a way for me to create whatever cards I want on my own dime, and design them the way I would like to see them done. So what I want to do is I'm going to do side by side. I'll do them one at a time and show you two different ways to go about making a card design. One of the things that I've done is I'm going to drag these over here. These are predefined assets, and in a second we'll talk about that. But assets are elements within any of your previously completed designs that you can save as an asset, and it's available to you at any time you need to use it. So if you were doing, for example, I have a baseball player card here. If I drag that in over here, now it's without the cut lines, but if I drag that in, well, gee, that's my format is already laid out for a baseball card, and if I decided I wanted to drag that inside these lines and play around with it to get it to fit just right, which this one does, then that would be a card for baseball. So I'm going to delete that out of there because that's a layer that I don't really need at this particular point in time. And anytime you want to delete a layer, you can either click on it and right click and say delete, or you can simply click on it and hit the delete key on your program. So what I've done is I've got two different cards that I'm going to design. The first I'm going to do the way I had originally learned how to do it, showed people how to do it, and for those of you that are getting into it for the first time, this is one way to build a card. And I've linked everything to a lacrosse set that a lacrosse database that I have for lacrosse cards, and I'm going to make sure I get my right guy here. I'm going to show you how to build this. So let's say you're doing a lacrosse card. It could be any card, but you have a data set that's been set up already. This one's called the Lacrosse Blast 1997 season data set, and it can be a CSV file or an Excel file. Doesn't matter. It'll accept either one. So usually the first thing you do is you say, okay, I want to put the name. Let's say I want to put the name up here at the top of the card. Names are important. That's always a good thing. One of the things that I learned is early on is I'll use the rounded rectangle tool because I want it to look rounded. I'm going to use the height. The width is 1.5 inches, and the height is about 1/6 of an inch. We'll start with that, and then that's the rectangle. We've got the shape. It's got a 1-point border on it. We could make it 1/2 point to make it a little nicer, which I inadvertently did the line on the outside of the card because that's where I was at. See, that's a blue. So you can go to Edit, Undo Set Line Weight, and we're back to the original one. Then you have to click on the rounded rectangle, and let's do a 0.75 weight font, a little lighter line. So you do that, and then you take the frame text, and you can do virtually the same thing, and kind of cover up, put it inside. And then what that does is it allows you then to edit that, and we'll just put in, we'll add a field. Adding a field is as simple as calling up the fields table, which is simply go into window, and fields is in here somewhere. I'd have to look at it. Anyway, again, you could play around with it. We go into fields, and then all the fields that are available. So I want to put the player's name. So I go to player, and we'll whoops. That messed up. it always moves like that. It tends to wait till you click it. There's the whoops. See now I put power in there. I don't want that either. I want player. Okay, so it's put in there, and the font, which was from a previous time that I used this program, the font was on gray, so I'm going to make the font black. And it's currently Alta Has Grotesque. I'm going to change it to, let's call it Berlin Sans FB. And we're going to do it regular, and we're going to move it from 7-point to 11-point font, so you can see the font quite clearly. This particular thing in the text box, if I go to this where it says player here, you'll notice that it's set to be right justified. I can set it left justified. I can center it, and then I can center it. I can align it to the top. I can align it to the center. I can align it to the bottom, or I can do a justify vertically, and it'll pick the one that it seems to make the most sense, and that's because it's trying to fit the tail of the Y in there. I always do it justify center, top to bottom. Do that. Okay, we'll have to go back here and say undo justify paragraph, undo vertical alignment. There we go. And we go back in here and say center vertically, and we'll move this font over to the left. Then, if you want the tag to move with the rectangle, you drag it and drop on top, and now those two items, if I want to move that around, instead of having to move two separate items, because they're linked, one inside the other, see it's indented just a little bit there, one inside the other, I can just hit the old move key. I can move the whole thing, and we're golden to go. The shape text, what I've got here, is somehow did something wrong there. Let's undo transform, edit. I inadvertently converted the text. So there you go, rounded rectangle. Again, the edit undo button is your friend, and it'll undo all the way back to the time you previously saved it. So, unfortunately, it's taking longer than I thought it was going to take. So I moved this around. Notice I can move it here. I can put it in the other card, wherever I want to do it. I'm just going to leave it here for right now. Now, I can show you another way to do this. And actually, let's do another one. So rather than go through all that again, you can duplicate what you already have. It's duplicated it. I take the second one. I drop it down. I open it up, and I go into the player. I go to text because I want to edit the text, and now I'll go in and do let's do position. Oops, again it jumps, these jump, so you might have to click it twice, and again I just have to re-highlight over top of the field you want. There you go, so here's a forward. Okay, so that's one way to do it. But there's another way to do it that is just as nice and actually allows you to be a little bit more organized, and that is using the table tool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a table tool across here, make it the same height. I'm going to then say I want it to be 2 rows tall and just one across, and I'm going to look at this rounded rectangle. And down here under fields is a transform, and it tells you X is the position from the left margin, Y is the position from the top. You want width and you want height, the H. The height of that cell is 1.167 inches. So for the table now, if you're going to go over to the table, find the table, and then go to the table thing, table tab, and go to cell. Height is currently set at 1.042 inches. Just type 0.166667, and it will round it. And now you have two fields identically the same. And in this case, I'm going to go back to the fields thing. I'm going to double click the player. Oh, it's going to mess me up again. oh, this is frustrating. This is extremely frustrating to me. And it's frustrating to you as the end user who's going, what the heck are you doing, dude? So we're going to go player, and then we're going to go position. And I think the reason that this is not working the way I want it to is that the text in the cell is not formatted properly. So we're going to go black, and we're going to go Berlin Sans FB. I know why it's doing it. And that is that the table, I'll move the table. I have a data merge layout here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete that out of here because I'm going to be assuming that there's a data merge. So I need to go to the table, and we need to put that table in front of the card cut lines. Okay, so now you'll see this table has the same thing, but that looks kind of clunky. This looks kind of nice, but you can do a couple of things. So for example, I'm going to go and I'm going to right justify this, and then I'm going to go in to the table tab, and I'm going to say I want, you can either set the left border, the right border, the center border if you have like 2 or 3 things, the outer borders, or all of the vertical lines. I'm going to set all the vertical lines to this here, which that means that the mark is blank. Then I'm going to go in and I'm going to set you can set top, bottom, top and bottom, middle, or all the horizontal. I'm going to do the top and bottom and do the exact same thing. Okay? And when I'm done, look at that. I have a different look. It still has the separation. It still looks the way you want it to, but has a look that's kind of clean. And it also means that you could do what you wanted with this. If you wanted to take a shape, say for example the rectangle, you could just color that. You just take that rectangle and put it over top, and it would do the same thing and leave the other one there. If you wanted to, you could delete the rectangle and leave it alone. You can do the same thing with a table. So let's take this table that we have. Now let's make a new table. We're going to do a table that has some qualities on it. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to say I need 4 rows, and I need it to be 5 across, and I'm going to merge. Let's make it 6 across. Let's do it that way. I'm going to merge these 3. So you go into table, merge cells, and you just repeat that. I'm going to try and do this real quick. I'll leave those alone. I'm going to make that 6 because it shouldn't be 7, it should be 6. We're going to merge these cells on this side. We can merge these cells on this side and leave that alone. And we can then say we're going to highlight the entire table. And first thing, we're going to go over to the fields. We're going to add some fields. We're going to add speed, skill, power, hit, smart, star. We're going to add these little special symbols. So we're going to do SS1, SS2, SS3, SS4, SS5, SS6, and we're going to go and we have to change these. We know this already to a font called Pierre Dingbats. And you can just type in Pierre. And that now makes changes those letters that are in the data file to what you need for what you're looking for. We'll make the whole table. Oops. Highlight the whole table. we want to make those center vertically, and then these 3 cells over here need to be right justified. Those are left justified. And then I can take that table, and I would normally go, all right, let's highlight the table. Let's highlight everything about the table. Go to the table tab, click on this one, which is all lines, and make all the lines go away. And then what I did in my original video is said, okay, I'm going to take a pen, draw a straight line, and I'm going to come across here, and I'm going to draw a straight line. That's not perfect. And I'm going to come across here and draw a straight line like that. And you'll notice the line's not perfect, but that's where the transform piece comes in. Go to your fields section, go down to transform, click over to the select, that's the black arrow, and you'll notice that it says that the length is 1.458 inches. So, and that's this blue line. It's actually 1.5. Just type in 1.5, and you'll notice it now stretches across where you need it to be. It's at a 180-degree angle because it's considered to be flipped upside down. So we could say that the angle is 0, and all that does is just flip it around, and we'll just move it over here. And then this one's the same thing. It's it's 1.5 across there. Just move it a little bit, and it's now equal. But you can also take that same table, duplicate it, move it over here, and then use the power of the table borders and say I want to set my top and bottom border now. This one here. Oh, let's get the right table. I go there. I hit that one right there. Oh, I have to go back to table mode, sorry. And edit. I'll highlight the entire, I'll highlight the entire table. And then say I want to do the top and bottom, and I want those to be black. And I've done the exact same thing without having to draw an additional line. So this particular set has the following elements. It has 2 rounded rectangles with 2 different text fields added to it. It contains 2 lines, 1, 2. It contains the card cut line border. It contains a table. Or the card on the left, on the right, contains a table and another table. Same data, fewer elements. So when you do those things, you can say, I have fewer elements that I'm dealing with, and that allows me to then be able to handle those in any way I want. So for example, take this table at the top, the player position table. I can turn around and I can duplicate that, because what I want to do at the bottom, I'll click on this and we'll drag it down. I'll do the select button. So we'll drag it down to the bottom. And I've decided that what I want to do is I want to go back into the table edit mode. I want to set that to be left justified. I want to substitute and change by going to the fields thing. I want to change that to city, and then I'll put a space in there, and then nickname. Then I want to come down here and go all the way to the season and change that. And maybe I want to make that font a little smaller, so we'll, instead of 11 point, maybe we'll go 9. And again, centering it vertically and aligning it to the left. And now I have another element to my thing that still looks just as nice. And if you want to put that in a border, you can get a rectangle or something and put that over that. So as you can see, there are 2 different ways of doing these, where you can either embed elements into each other or build each element separately and then move them individually, or you can use the tables as they are, create 3 elements which have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 6, that's 14, 15, 16 data elements in 3 tables, or 16 data elements, I didn't change this, but 16 data elements in 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Because if I built this, I would have to basically build it this way. I take the rounded rectangle and copy paste it, and I drag it down, right? And do that, and go in to the player thing and go to the text edit field and change that to city. Oops. Again, that's the frustrating part about working with the fields, is that they will move. Space, nickname, and then what I would do is I'd have to drag this piece out of the rectangle and lay it in there, and then delete the rectangle. And then I would have to get one of these lines, curve, and that's this one here, and we'll do copy paste. You can use duplicate if you want, and pull that down there, put that there. Then I'd have to take this that says city nickname, I'd have to duplicate that and drag it down here. Then go into this particular one and edit text, put in the season, then go in and change this to 9-point font, highlighting it, doing 9-point, then going into this city nickname, season, and doing 9-point, and you get the same thing. But again, if you count the data, if you count the elements, there's 2 here for this one, a rectangle and word. There's 2 here for this one, rectangle and word. There's 2 lines, so there's 2, 4, 2 separate lines, that's 6. The table is 7. This one is 8. This one is 9. The line is 10. Or you can go 1 element, 2 elements, 3. So pretty much those are some of the things that I've learned in using these programs. Another thing, if you're looking to do something and you don't want to get fussy, you want to do a square. I'm going to put a square up there. Okay, I want it to be a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch. This transform piece allows you to go 0.5 by 0.5. Now you have the exact size square that you need. You can replicate that, duplicate it. So you can use this transform piece to change the length, height, width, and position on the page. So for example, if you want to line this square, which is right on this line, and I want to put another square next to it, let's do a copy and let's do a paste. And let's assume that the square is, I drew the square over here, and I want to line them up. How can I easily line them up? I'll move them over here, and if I want to be absolutely sure, steady hand, I've moved them 1 spot apart. I click on this one, and the X position, the Y position is 0.417. So the distance from the top to the top of the page, the top of the element is 0.417. I go back to this rectangle and type in Y of 0.417. I am exactly lined up perfectly. If I want this one to be lined up on this side, on the left side, then I look at this rectangle here. The X is 4 inches. I go to this rectangle, I change this to 4 inches. They are now lined up perfectly. So you can do the X to get them lined up under each other, or the Y to get them lined up next to each other, and then play around with it as you see fit. So those are some things that I have learned. Consider it my holiday present to all of you who are either learning to make cards or learning more tricks to make cards. But this is a really, really good thing to do. And the fewer elements you have to play with, the more the easier it is to make changes to cards, because you're not having to worry about changing this shape to something else and taking this shape off or taking this shape and moving down here. The tables work just as well, and that should work for you. So as always, life is nice when you're rolling dice. It's also pretty good when you're using Affinity Publisher. A great program, a great tool. Sometimes it's on sale, but it's still a good bargain for its price. Does all the things I needed to do for cards. And so until the next time we do one of these, this is Brian Martin saying good night, good gaming, good publishing. We'll see you again soon. So long, everybody.